Welcome back to Crime Gaze. Today, we delve deeper into one of the most infamous mysteries in criminal history, the story of Jack the Ripper. This shadowy figure haunted the streets of London in the late 19th century, and his identity remains one of the most compelling enigmas. Join us as we explore not just the chilling details of his crimes, but also the 8 most intriguing suspects who have emerged over the years. London, 1888. The city is a bustling metropolis, but beneath its surface lies a world of poverty and despair. The East End, particularly Whitechapel, is plagued by crime, violence, and a growing population of impoverished residents. The area was a hotbed of social issues, with overcrowding, inadequate housing, and rampant disease. The working-class citizens struggled to make ends meet, and many women turned to prostitution as a means of survival. Amid this chaos, a series of brutal murders would soon grip the city in terror. Jack the Ripper is believed to have murdered at least 5 women, all of whom were sex workers. These victims, Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly, each met a horrific end, and their stories reveal the brutal nature of the killer. Mary Ann Nichols, found on August 31, 1888, her throat was slashed, and her abdomen mutilated. She was the first canonical victim of the Ripper, and her murder set off a wave of panic in the community. Witnesses reported seeing her shortly before her death, but no one could have predicted the fate that awaited her. Annie Chapman, discovered on September 8th, her body showed signs of severe violence and organ removal. The brutality of her murder shocked investigators, revealing the killer's disturbing pattern. Annie's personal belongings were scattered around her, suggesting a horrid and violent attack. Elizabeth Stride, found on September 30th, her murder was notably different. Unlike the others, she showed no signs of mutilation, leading some to speculate that the Ripper may have been interrupted. Her death, however, was still part of the Ripper's reign of terror, highlighting the chaos that enveloped Whitechapel. Catherine Eddowes, discovered on the same night as Stride, Eddowes' murder was particularly gruesome. She was subjected to horrific mutilations, and her kidney was removed. The proximity of these murders, occurring on the same night, demonstrated the audacity of the killer. Finally, there was Mary Jane Kelly, the last of the canonical 5. Her murder on November 9th was the most gruesome of all. Found in her own home, she was disemboweled, and her body was mutilated beyond recognition. This brutal killing marked the end of the Ripper's known murders, but the fear he instilled in the community continued long after. The investigation was extensive but ultimately unsuccessful. Police received hundreds of letters claiming to be from the Ripper, but none were credible. Despite the efforts of Inspector Frederick Aberline and his team, the Ripper eluded capture. They interviewed countless witnesses, conducted extensive searches, and even formed special police squads dedicated to finding the killer. Yet, the case grew colder as the murders stopped, and Jack the Ripper faded into the shadows of history. Now, let's dive into 8 of the most intriguing suspects in the Jack the Ripper case. Each of these individuals has captivated true crime enthusiasts and historians, adding to the mystery surrounding the Ripper. 1. Aaron Kosminski. Our first suspect is Aaron Kosminski, a Polish Jewish immigrant and resident of Whitechapel. Known to be mentally unstable, Kosminski was reportedly seen in the area around the time of the murders. Eyewitness accounts described a man fitting his description near the crime scenes, and he was known to have a hatred for women. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence is that he was committed to an asylum in 1891, and several witnesses claimed he exhibited violent tendencies. A gruesome detail from one of the murder scenes, a missing kidney, also leads some to believe Kosminski had knowledge of anatomy, further fueling the theory that he was the Ripper. However, the evidence against him remains circumstantial at best, and many historians debate his actual involvement in the crimes. 2. Montague John Druitt. Next up is Montague John Druitt, a barrister and school teacher who became a prime suspect due to his tragic fate. After the last murder in November 1888, Druitt was found dead in the Thames, leading many to speculate that he could have been the Ripper who took his own life after his killing spree. His family noted that he had a history of mental illness, which only added to the suspicion surrounding him. Some believe that Druitt's suicide was a confession of guilt, as the timing of his death coincided closely with the end of the murders. However, like Kosminski, the evidence against Druitt is primarily based on speculation and circumstantial details. His case is often revisited due to the chilling coincidences surrounding his life and death. 3. George Lusk. Our next suspect is George Lusk, the leader of the local vigilance committee. He became involved in the case after receiving a letter signed by Jack the Ripper. Lusk had a vested interest in finding the killer, but some have speculated that his eagerness to solve the case could indicate a darker motive. Lusk was known to have connections to various individuals in Whitechapel, leading to theories that he could have been more than just a concerned citizen. Some even suggest he might have used his position to manipulate the investigation for personal gain or notoriety. The complexities of his character and the surrounding circumstances make him a fascinating figure in this tragic story. 4. Michael Ostrog. Another notable suspect is Michael Ostrog, a Russian conman and criminal who was known for his erratic behavior. Ostrog had a lengthy criminal record and was imprisoned for various offenses, including theft. Some reports suggested he had a deep-seated hatred for women, which aligns with the killer's modus operandi. Despite this, there was little direct evidence linking him to the murders. However, his history of violence and criminal behavior led some to speculate that he could have been capable of such heinous acts. The evidence against Ostrog is largely circumstantial, and he remains a figure of intrigue in the Ripper case. 5. John Pizer. Next on our list is John Pizer, also known as Leather Apron. Pizer was a known figure in the Whitechapel area, and his name became synonymous with the murders due to his violent reputation and association with local women. Pizer was a bootmaker and had a history of violence, leading many to suspect him of the Ripper killings. However, he was arrested and later cleared of suspicion, which adds to the complexity of the case. The nickname Leather Apron suggests a connection to the brutal nature of the crimes, but there was insufficient evidence to link him directly to the murders. 6. Francis Tumblety. Francis Tumblety, an American quack doctor, is another suspect worth considering. Tumblety had a penchant for collecting female body parts, and his bizarre behavior drew suspicion. He was known to hold anti-feminist views, which aligns with the Ripper's targeting of women. Tumblety was in London during the time of the murders, and following the last killing, he fled back to the United States, raising eyebrows among investigators. Despite the unusual circumstances surrounding his life, there is no conclusive evidence tying him to the crimes, leaving his role in this mystery open to speculation. 7. John Smith. John Smith, a more obscure suspect, was mentioned in some investigations due to his presence in the Whitechapel area. Reports indicated that Smith had a history of violence, and witnesses claimed to have seen him near the crime scenes. However, his identity remains elusive, and concrete evidence is lacking. His anonymity adds to the air of mystery surrounding the Ripper case, as many theorists have speculated about the possibility of a less-known perpetrator hiding among the shadows of Whitechapel. 8. Charles Lechmere. Finally, we have Charles Lechmere, a local cat driver who was present at the scene of one of the murders. He discovered the body of Marion Nichols and alerted the police. Some investigators have raised questions about his involvement due to his peculiar behavior and knowledge of the area. Lechmere was reportedly known to have a violent temper, leading some to speculate about his potential as a suspect. However, he was never formally charged, and his role in the case remains a subject of debate. While these 8 suspects, Aaron Kosminski, Montague John Druitt, George Lusk, Michael Ostrog, John Pizer, Francis Tumblety, John Smith, and Charles Lechmere, are among the most intriguing in the Jack the Ripper case, the true identity of the killer continues to elude us. The combination of sensational media coverage, public hysteria, and the failure of the police to catch the killer has turned Jack the Ripper into a figure of myth. As we conclude our exploration of Jack the Ripper, we reflect on the impact these murders had on society. The case highlighted the darker sides of urban life in Victorian London and raised questions about the treatment of women and the conditions of the working class. The fear and hysteria surrounding the Ripper were so profound that they sparked changes in policing and social reforms. The legacy of these murders continues to influence both true crime enthusiasts and scholars today, shaping our understanding of criminal behavior and the societal factors that contribute to it. While Jack the Ripper was never caught, his gruesome legacy lives on, becoming a symbol of fear and intrigue. The case remains one of the most discussed and analyzed in criminal history, with countless books, films, and documentaries exploring every angle of this chilling mystery. From the sordid streets of Whitechapel to the countless theories and suspects, the story of Jack the Ripper captures the imagination like no other. As we ponder the identities of the 8 intriguing suspects we've discussed, we are reminded of the complexities of criminal investigations and the ongoing quest for justice. Each suspect has their own narrative, their own reasons for being involved, and their own shadowy pasts, but the truth remains elusive. Perhaps the mystery of Jack the Ripper lies not just in his identity, but also in the societal conditions that allowed such a monster to operate in plain sight. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the dark heart of one of history's most infamous cases. If you enjoyed this exploration of Jack the Ripper and the suspects surrounding him, please like, share, and subscribe to Crime Gaze for more deep dives into true crime stories. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. What do you think? Who do you believe could have been Jack the Ripper? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay safe and keep your gaze on the shadows.